Every sunrise arrives with the same silent question. Will today be another day of waiting, or will it be the day you finally begin? Most people never answer that question with action. Instead, they answer it with excuses. I'll start next Monday. I need more experience. I'm not ready yet. I'll do it when life becomes less complicated. Those words sound harmless, but they have buried more dreams than failure ever could. The truth is, your life is not being stolen by bad luck. It is being stolen by delay. Every day you wait, your confidence grows weaker. Every day you hesitate, fear grows stronger. Every day you postpone your dreams, your excuses become easier to believe. Waiting feels safe because nothing is at risk. No one can reject you if you never try. No one can criticize your work if you never create it. No one can watch you fail if you never step onto the stage. But there is a hidden price to safety. The price is your potential. The price is the person you were meant to become. People often believe that successful individuals found the perfect opportunity. They imagine that one magical day everything aligned. The timing was perfect. The conditions were perfect. Their confidence was perfect. Their lives were finally ready. That story is comforting. It is also completely false. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful began while feeling uncertain. They had questions without answers. They carried fears they couldn't silence. They faced obstacles they couldn't predict. They moved anyway. Because they understood something that changes everything. Action creates confidence. Waiting creates doubt. Think about the strongest person you know. Do you believe they became strong by avoiding difficulty? Do you believe they became wise by escaping every mistake? Do you believe they became courageous because fear never visited them? Of course not. Strength was built through resistance. Wisdom was earned through failure. Courage was discovered in moments when fear whispered louder than hope. Your greatest teacher has never been comfort. It has always been challenge. Yet every day people run from discomfort as though it is their enemy. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid difficult decisions. They avoid difficult dreams. Without realizing, they are avoiding the very experiences capable of transforming them. Comfort feels peaceful. Growth rarely does. Growth asks you to become a beginner again. It asks you to risk embarrassment. It asks you to fail publicly. It asks you to keep moving when progress is invisible. That is why so few people truly grow. Not because growth is impossible, but because comfort is seductive. Fear is even more deceptive. Fear almost never introduces itself honestly. It doesn't say, "I'm keeping you trapped." Instead it whispers, "You need one more course. You need better timing. You need more money. You should wait until next year." Fear dresses itself as preparation. It sounds intelligent. It sounds responsible. It sounds practical. And before you realize it, months have become years. You have collected knowledge. You have gathered plans. You have imagined success, but you have never taken the first step. Knowledge without action changes nothing. Planning without execution changes nothing. Dreaming without movement changes nothing. Life rewards action, not intention. Look at nature. A seed does not wait for perfect weather. It breaks through cold soil. It survives heavy rain. It bends with powerful winds. It grows because growth has never depended on perfect conditions. It has always depended on movement. The same is true for your life. You don't become stronger after life becomes easier. You become stronger because you learned to keep moving when life became harder. Some people spend their entire lives asking, "What if I fail?" A very few stop to ask, "What if I never begin?" Failure hurts. There is no denying that. Rejection hurts. Disappointment hurts. Mistakes hurt. But regret carries a different kind of pain. It doesn't disappear. It grows heavier with time. There comes a moment when people no longer regret what they tried. They regret what fear convinced them not to try. Imagine looking back years from now. Imagine realizing you possessed the ability all along. The opportunity was there. The dream was possible. But you spent your life waiting for permission that was never coming. No one is arriving to rescue your future. No one is coming to build your discipline. No one will wake up and hand you confidence. Those things are built, one decision at a time, one difficult choice at a time, one uncomfortable action at a time. People often ask for motivation, but motivation is unreliable. Some mornings it appears, some mornings it disappears. If your future depends on motivation, your future depends on chance. Discipline is different. Discipline works when you are inspired. Discipline works when you are exhausted. Discipline works when no one is watching. Discipline quietly builds the life that motivation only talks about. Do not underestimate small actions. One page becomes a book. One workout becomes strength. One conversation repairs a relationship. One decision changes a direction. A river does not carve through mountains because it is powerful. It carves through mountains because it never stops flowing. Consistency defeats intensity. Every single time. You don't have to know every answer before you begin. You don't need the entire map. When you drive through darkness, your headlights reveal only a short distance ahead. Yet you keep driving, step by step, the road unfolds. Life works the same way. Clarity comes after movement. Not before it. Stop asking for certainty. Certainty is a luxury life rarely offers. Ask instead for courage. Because courage allows ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. Your future is not waiting somewhere ahead. It is being built right now, with every decision, with every excuse, with every action, with every moment you choose growth instead of comfort. The person you become tomorrow is determined by the choices you make today, not by your intentions, not by your wishes, not by your plans, by your actions. Time is moving whether you move or not. The clock has never paused for anyone. Every minute that passes is one you will never receive again. The question has never been whether the perfect moment will arrive. The question is whether you will keep wasting the imperfect moments that already belong to you. Because one day, without warning, you'll realize that what you once called later has quietly become too late. So stop waiting for confidence. Stop waiting for certainty. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Stop negotiating with your fears. Stop asking life to become easier before you decide to become stronger. Choose this moment. Choose this breath. Choose this step, because the perfect moment has never existed. Only this one does. The ideal of a perfect moment has quietly stolen more dreams than failure ever could. It whispers to people in ways that seem reasonable. It says, wait until you have more money. Wait until you have more experience. Wait until life becomes less complicated. Wait until you feel confident. At first, these thoughts appear wise, even responsible. They create the illusion that patience is the same as preparation. But if you observe carefully, you will notice that this perfect moment never actually arrives. Every time one condition is met, another appears in its place. The finish line keeps moving farther away, and your life becomes a series of postponed beginnings. Many people believe that successful individuals started when everything finally aligned. They imagine a day when fear disappeared, confidence arrived, and certainty filled every thought. But reality tells a different story. Every person who has ever built something meaningful stepped into uncertainty. They doubted themselves, they questioned their decisions, they wondered whether they were capable. The difference was not that they possessed extraordinary courage. The difference was that they refused to let uncertainty become an excuse for inaction. The human mind craves certainty because certainty feels safe. It wants guarantees before taking risks. It wants to know the outcome before making the effort. But life has never worked this way. Growth has always required stepping into situations where the outcome is unknown. A child does not wait until they know they can walk before taking the first step. They stumble, they fall, they stand again, and through repeated attempts they discover balance. Imagine if that child waited until they were completely certain they would never fall. They would remain on the ground forever, believing that safety was progress when in reality it was only stillness. Perfection is often nothing more than fear wearing a convincing disguise. Fear rarely announces itself honestly. It does not always say, "I am afraid." Instead, it sounds intelligent. It says, "You need more time. You should prepare a little longer. This isn't the right season." These excuses feel logical because they appeal to reason, but beneath them lies a simple truth. Fear is trying to protect you from discomfort. Unfortunately, the same discomfort that fear wants you to avoid is often the very place where transformation begins. Consider how nature operates. A seed buried beneath the soil does not wait for perfect weather. It does not demand endless sunshine. Without rain or warmth, without cold, it begins growing in imperfect conditions because growth has never depended on perfection. Storms come, winds arrive, temperatures change, yet the tree continues, reaching upward because its purpose is stronger than its desire for comfort. Human beings are no different. We often believe that difficult circumstances are signs to delay action when they may actually be the conditions that strengthen our character the most. There is another reason people chase the perfect moment. They confuse confidence with readiness. They believe confidence must exist before action, but confidence is created through action. The first speech is uncomfortable. The first workout is exhausting. The first business idea feels uncertain. The first attempt at any meaningful goal is usually imperfect. Yet every repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity slowly becomes confidence. Waiting to feel confident before beginning is like expecting muscles to appear before lifting the first weight. Time is completely indifferent to your hesitation. Every sunrise arrives whether you are prepared or not. Every year passes whether you pursue your dreams or postpone them. While you are waiting for the ideal opportunity, life continues moving forward without asking for your permission. Opportunities change, circumstances evolve, and the window that once seemed distant quietly begins to close. One day you may realize that the greatest obstacle was never your lack of ability, but your belief that tomorrow would always be a better day to begin. Most remarkable achievements in history were not born from flawless conditions. They emerged from imperfect beginnings, uncertain decisions, repeated failures, and persistent effort. Every masterpiece once existed as an unfinished idea. Every skilled professional once struggled with basic mistakes. Every confident leader once questioned their own abilities. They became extraordinary not because they found the perfect moment, but because they stopped searching for it and accepted that progress has always belonged to those willing to begin before everything feels ready. Most people believe fear always looks obvious. They imagine it as shaking hands, racing thoughts, or the overwhelming urge to run away. But fear is far more intelligent than that. It rarely introduces itself by saying, "I am stopping you." Instead, it wears a disguise that appears responsible, practical, and even admirable. It convinces you that you are simply preparing a little more, researching a little longer, or waiting until everything is perfectly organized. On the surface, it feels like wisdom. Beneath the surface, it is often hesitation carefully hidden behind productivity. Preparation is valuable when it serves a clear purpose. Learning new skills, gathering knowledge, and building a strong foundation are all important parts of growth. The problem begins when preparation no longer leads to action, There comes a point where every additional book, every extra course, every new strategy, and every detailed plan adds very little value. Yet many people continue collecting information because information feels safer than action. Reading about courage is easier than being courageous. Planning success is more comfortable than risking failure. Thinking creates the illusion of progress without demanding the vulnerability that real progress requires. The mind naturally seeks comfort. It prefers familiar routines over uncertain experiences because uncertainty carries the possibility of disappointment. Fear understands this instinct and quietly transforms it into endless preparation. It whispers, "You just need one more certification. You should wait until you have more experience. You need better equipment. You should begin next month when everything is less stressful." Each excuse sounds reasonable on its own, making it difficult to recognize that they are all pointing toward the same destination: delay. One of the greatest dangers of disguised fear is that it keeps your self-image intact. As long as you never truly begin, your dream remains perfect in your imagination. A writer who never finishes a book never has to face criticism. An entrepreneur who never launches a business never risks rejection. An athlete who never enters a competition never experiences defeat. Remaining in preparation protects the fantasy of potential because potential cannot fail. Only action can be judged, measured, and challenged. Fear knows this, which is why it encourages endless planning while quietly discouraging meaningful movement. Imagine someone standing at the edge of a swimming pool, determined to learn how to swim. They spend weeks reading books about swimming techniques. They watch instructional videos every evening. They study breathing patterns, arm movements, and body position with incredible dedication. They can explain every detail to others with impressive confidence. Yet they never enter the water because they believe they need just a little more knowledge before taking that first step. Months pass, and despite all their preparation, they remain unable to swim. Their understanding has grown, but their ability has not, because ability is developed through experience rather than observation. Life follows the same principle. Experience teaches lessons that preparation never can. Mistakes reveal weaknesses that planning cannot predict. Challenges expose strengths that comfort keeps hidden. There are certain truths that only become visible once you begin moving. You cannot think your way into mastery because mastery is built through repetition, correction, and persistence. Every meaningful skill demands interaction with reality rather than endless rehearsal inside your mind. Another reason fear disguises itself as preparation is because society often praises busyness without questioning its purpose. People admire full schedules, stacks of notebooks, detailed plans, and constant learning. These activities appear productive, and sometimes they genuinely are. However, activity is not always progress. You can spend years feeling busy while moving nowhere. Motion without direction creates exhaustion instead of achievement. The difference between productive preparation and fearful preparation is simple. Productive preparation eventually leads to decisive action. Fearful preparation creates another reason to postpone it. Perfectionism often strengthens this cycle. Many people convince themselves they must produce flawless work on their first attempt. Because perfection is impossible, they remain trapped in endless refinement before anyone ever sees what they have created. They edit before they write. They improve before they build. They correct before they begin. In trying to avoid mistakes, they accidentally prevent growth altogether. Every expert has produced work they later wish they could improve. Excellence is rarely the result of waiting for perfection. It is usually the result of improving imperfect work over time. There is also an emotional reward hidden inside preparation. It allows you to feel responsible without confronting uncertainty. Completing another course provides satisfaction. Organizing another notebook creates a sense of accomplishment. Making another plan feels productive. These small rewards can become addictive because they offer the pleasure of progress without exposing you to the discomfort of real-world results. Fear quietly encourages this pattern because every hour spent preparing is another hour spent avoiding the possibility of failure. The difficult truth is that no amount of preparation can eliminate uncertainty. Every important decision carries unanswered questions. Every meaningful opportunity involves risk. Every worthwhile journey begins before all doubts disappear. At some point, preparation reaches its limit, and only action can take you further. The lessons you seek are waiting beyond the point where planning ends and experience begins, where uncertainty transforms into understanding through consistent effort rather than endless anticipation. One of the greatest misunderstandings about confidence is the belief that it appears before action. Many people think confidence is something you either have or you do not. They wait for a feeling that will somehow remove their doubts, silence their fears, and give them permission to begin. They believe that successful people wake up each morning overflowing with certainty, while everyone else struggles with hesitation. This belief creates a dangerous cycle because the longer you wait to feel confident, the longer you avoid the very actions that create confidence in the first place. Confidence is not a gift that arrives unexpectedly. It is the result of repeated promises kept to yourself. Every time you choose to do what you said you would do, even when you do not feel like it, you strengthen the relationship you have with yourself. That relationship is the true foundation of confidence. If you constantly break your own commitments, your mind begins to doubt your words. But when you consistently follow through, your mind slowly learns that your decisions can be trusted. Discipline is often misunderstood as punishment or restriction. People imagine it as forcing yourself through misery or denying every pleasure in life. In reality, discipline is simply the ability to act according to your values instead of your emotions. Emotions change from day to day. Some mornings you wake up motivated, energized, and ready to conquer every challenge. Other mornings, even the smallest task feels overwhelming. If your actions depend entirely on how you feel, your progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline removes emotions from the driver's seat and places your purpose there instead. Imagine a musician learning a new instrument. During the first weeks, every note feels awkward. Fingers move slowly, mistakes happen constantly, and frustration appears almost every day. If the musician practiced only when confidence was present, they would likely stop after the first difficult session. Instead, they return again and again, repeating simple exercises that seem almost insignificant. Day after day, those small efforts accumulate. Eventually, movements become natural, mistakes become less frequent, and music begins to flow effortlessly. From the outside, it appears as confidence, but underneath it is simply the result of disciplined repetition. The same principle applies to every area of life. An athlete gains confidence by showing up for training, even when the weather is bad or the body feels tired. A speaker gains confidence by standing in front of audiences repeatedly, despite nervousness. A business owner gains confidence by solving one problem after another instead of expecting immediate success. Confidence grows through evidence, and discipline is the process that creates that evidence. Every action you repeat sends a message to your mind about who you are. When you repeatedly avoid challenges, your mind concludes that you are someone who retreats from difficulty. When you consistently face challenges despite discomfort, your mind begins to see you as someone who can handle adversity. This identity becomes stronger than temporary emotions because it is built upon experience rather than imagination. You no longer need to convince yourself that you are capable. Your own history becomes proof. Many people search for motivation because motivation feels exciting. It brings energy, enthusiasm, and optimism. The problem is that motivation is unpredictable. It rises and falls with circumstances. Discipline, however, remains available regardless of mood. It allows you to continue moving when excitement disappears. People who accomplish remarkable things are rarely the ones who feel inspired every single day. They are the ones who continue working long after inspiration has faded. Small disciplined actions often seem too insignificant to matter. Waking up on time, reading a few pages, exercising for 30 minutes, practicing a skill, or completing one important task may not feel life-changing in the moment, yet each action becomes another piece of evidence that you are capable of following through. Over weeks and months, these moments create an unshakable sense of trust in yourself. That trust becomes confidence because you know, through experience, that you can rely on your own actions instead of your temporary feelings. Discipline also changes the way you respond to failure. Without discipline, setbacks often feel personal. One mistake becomes a reason to quit because your confidence depends on success. With discipline, failure becomes part of the routine rather than a verdict on your ability. You return the next day, make another attempt, adjust your approach, and continue forward. This consistency removes much of the emotional weight from mistakes because your focus shifts from immediate results to long-term improvement. There is a quiet strength in knowing that your actions are not controlled by comfort, convenience, or fear. Every disciplined decision reinforces the belief that you can do difficult things regardless of your emotional state. Over time, this belief becomes deeply rooted because it has been tested repeatedly. Real confidence does not come from positive thinking alone. It comes from looking back at countless moments when you chose action over excuses, persistence over comfort, and commitment over convenience, allowing your daily habits to shape a character that no longer depends on feeling ready before taking the next step. Comfort has a quiet way of convincing people that staying where they are is enough. It creates routines that feel familiar, predictable, and safe. There is nothing inherently wrong with comfort. Rest is necessary, and peace has its place in every life. The problem begins when comfort becomes the highest priority. When avoiding discomfort becomes more important than pursuing growth, life slowly begins to shrink. Opportunities are ignored because they feel uncertain. Difficult conversations are postponed because they feel uncomfortable. Dreams remain unfinished because they demand effort beyond what feels convenient. Over time, comfort stops being a place to recover. It becomes a place to hide. Discomfort is often misunderstood as something negative. Most people instinctively move away from anything that challenges them. They see struggle as proof that something is wrong, when in many cases struggle is evidence that something meaningful is happening. Every important transformation begins with a period of discomfort. The body becomes stronger by recovering from physical strain. The mind becomes wiser by solving difficult problems. Character becomes resilient by facing situations that cannot be controlled. Growth has always demanded a willingness to remain present when life becomes difficult instead of immediately searching for the nearest escape. Think about the first time you attempted something unfamiliar, whether it was speaking in front of a group, learning a new language, starting a business, or entering a new environment. There was likely a feeling of uncertainty. Your heart beat faster. Your thoughts became louder. Every mistake seemed larger than it really was. That discomfort was not a sign that you were incapable. It was simply your mind adjusting to something it had never experienced before. If you had interpreted those feelings as evidence that you should quit, you would never have discovered what you were capable of becoming. The human mind naturally seeks efficiency. It prefers familiar patterns because they require less energy. This is why routines become automatic over time. However, this same tendency also resists change. Every time you attempt something new, your brain reacts by creating doubt, hesitation, and resistance. It interprets unfamiliar situations as potential threats, even when they are opportunities. Understanding this changes the way you view discomfort. Instead of seeing it as a warning to stop, You begin recognizing it as a signal that you are stepping beyond the boundaries of your current identity. Many people spend years searching for easier paths. They believe that successful individuals somehow found a life without obstacles. In reality, those who achieve lasting success often become comfortable with being uncomfortable. They do not enjoy every challenge, but they no longer expect growth to feel easy. They understand that meaningful progress usually begins where convenience ends. The willingness to endure temporary discomfort often separates those who merely dream from those who create lasting change. Nature offers countless examples of this principle. A butterfly cannot emerge from its cocoon without struggle. That struggle strengthens its wings, preparing it for flight. If someone tries to remove the struggle by cutting open the cocoon, they may believe they are helping, but they actually weaken the butterfly's ability to survive. Challenge itself is part of the transformation. Human life follows the same pattern. Difficult experiences often develop qualities that comfort never could. Patience grows through waiting. Courage grows through fear. Wisdom grows through mistakes. Strength grows through resistance. One of the greatest lessons discomfort teaches is humility. It reminds you that there is always more to learn. Every beginner feels awkward because every expert was once a beginner. The embarrassment of making mistakes can either become a reason to quit or a reminder that learning is taking place. Those who embrace discomfort understand that temporary incompetence is the price of future mastery. They stop measuring themselves by how polished they appear and begin measuring themselves by how willing they are to improve. Discomfort also reveals your habits of thinking. When life becomes difficult, your excuses become visible. You notice how quickly the mind searches for reasons to stop. It says you are too tired, too busy, too inexperienced, or too late. These thoughts often remain hidden during comfortable moments because they are never challenged. Difficulty exposes them. Once they become visible, you gain the opportunity to question them instead of automatically believing them. In this way, discomfort becomes one of the most honest teachers because it reveals parts of yourself that comfort quietly conceals. Every challenge you overcome changes the way you see yourself. Before facing it, the obstacle appears larger than your ability. After moving through it, your perspective changes. The mountain that once seemed impossible becomes proof of your resilience. This process repeats throughout life. Each difficult experience expands your understanding of your own capacity. You begin trusting yourself not because life has become easier, but because you have repeatedly witnessed your ability to endure what once seemed impossible. The lessons gained through discomfort remain long after the discomfort itself has disappeared, shaping a mindset that values growth over ease and sees every meaningful challenge as an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. One of the biggest reasons people feel overwhelmed is because they try to carry the weight of an entire journey before taking the first step. They look at the distance between where they are and where they want to be, and instead of feeling inspired, they feel defeated. The goal appears too large, the obstacles seem endless, and the future becomes so uncertain that they convince themselves it is impossible. Yet the future has never asked you to solve everything today. It only asks you to take the next step that is available right now. The mind has a habit of living everywhere except the present moment. It constantly replays the mistakes of yesterday or imagines the uncertainties of tomorrow. It creates endless questions about outcomes that have not happened and problems that may never exist. While your attention is trapped in a future that cannot be controlled, the present quietly slips away. Ironically, the only place where real change can ever happen is the moment you are standing in now. Yesterday cannot be rewritten, and tomorrow cannot be lived today. The only place where your choices have power is the present. Many people delay action because they believe they need a complete plan before they begin. They want certainty about every stage of the journey. They want to know every obstacle, every opportunity, and every outcome before making a single decision. Life rarely offers that kind of clarity. If you wait until every question is answered, you may spend your entire life standing still. Progress has never depended on seeing the entire path. It depends on trusting that each step will reveal the next one. Imagine walking through a dense forest at night with only a small flashlight in your hand. The light reaches only a few steps ahead. You cannot see the destination, the entire trail, or every turn waiting in the distance. Yet if you keep walking, each step brings new ground into view. The path slowly reveals itself because movement creates visibility. If you refuse to move until the entire forest is illuminated, you remain exactly where you started. Life works in much the same way. Clarity often follows action rather than preceding it. There is a quiet strength in narrowing your focus. Instead of asking how you will succeed over the next 10 years, ask what you can accomplish before the day ends. Instead of worrying about every challenge that might appear, concentrate on the one directly in front of you. Large goals become intimidating only when viewed as a single impossible task. When broken into smaller actions, they become manageable. A book is written one page at a time. A house is built one brick at a time. A strong body is developed one workout at a time. Great achievements are nothing more than ordinary actions repeated consistently. Patience becomes easier when your attention remains in the present. Impatience usually grows from comparing today's effort with tomorrow's expectations. You plant a seed and immediately wonder why it does not become a tree. You practice a skill for a week and expect mastery. You make one healthy choice and expect a lifetime of results. Nature reminds us that meaningful growth follows its own rhythm. Seasons cannot be rushed, and neither can personal transformation. Every worthwhile accomplishment requires time, consistency, and a willingness to trust the process, even when visible progress seems slow. The present moment also protects you from unnecessary fear. Most anxiety comes from imagining events that have not happened. The mind creates countless possibilities, many of which never become reality. It rehearses failure before taking action and suffers from problems that exist only in imagination. By returning your attention to the task directly before you, you reduce the influence of these imagined fears. You stop carrying burdens that belong to a future you have not yet reached. Every meaningful journey contains moments of uncertainty. There will always be questions without answers and situations beyond your control. Trying to eliminate every uncertainty only creates frustration because life itself is unpredictable. What remains within your control is your response to the present. You can choose to make the next phone call, write the next paragraph, complete the next workout, or have the next difficult conversation. These small choices seem ordinary, but together they shape the direction of your entire life. Presence also deepens your appreciation for the journey itself. When your attention is always fixed on distant goals, you miss the lessons hidden in daily experience. You overlook the quiet improvements, the small victories, and the moments that slowly transform your character. Every challenge teaches patience. Every mistake offers wisdom. Every disciplined action strengthens your identity. These lessons are only visible when you stop rushing toward the future and fully engage with the work that exists today. Life is never transformed in one dramatic moment. It changes through thousands of ordinary decisions made in ordinary days. Every sunrise presents another opportunity to choose your next action. Every completed step creates momentum for the one that follows. You do not need to carry tomorrow's weight before tomorrow arrives, nor do you need to solve every challenge before beginning. The path unfolds through movement, and each present action quietly becomes the foundation upon which every future achievement is built, revealing possibilities that could never have been seen from the place where you first decided to begin. Most people imagine the future as something distant, separate, and waiting somewhere ahead of them. They think one day their life will suddenly become different because circumstances will change, opportunities will appear, or motivation will arrive. But the future is not created in a single dramatic moment. It is built quietly through the decisions made today. Every choice, no matter how small it seems, becomes a brick in the foundation of the life you will eventually live. The problem is that daily decisions rarely feel important. Skipping one workout seems harmless. Delaying one task appears insignificant. Wasting one evening does not look dangerous. Yet life is not shaped by isolated moments. It is shaped by repeated patterns. What you do consistently matters far more than what you do occasionally. A single drop of water appears powerless, but thousands of drops can carve through stone. In the same way, small decisions repeated over months and years gradually determine your health, your finances, your relationships, and your character. Consider the difference between two people whose choices vary only slightly each day. One reads a few pages, exercises regularly, saves a small amount of money, and practices a skill. The other postpones learning, avoids physical effort, spends impulsively, and wastes hours on distractions. On any given day, the difference between them seems almost invisible. After a week, it still appears small. After a year, the gap becomes noticeable. After a decade, they may be living completely different lives. The future did not separate them overnight. Their daily decisions did. Many people underestimate the power of ordinary actions because they focus only on immediate results. They expect visible change after a few days of effort and become discouraged when progress appears slow. What they fail to see is that most meaningful growth happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible. A tree spends years strengthening its roots before reaching impressive heights. Human progress follows a similar pattern. The habits you build today may not transform your life this week, but they are shaping the person you are becoming. Every decision is also a vote for your identity. When you choose discipline over excuses, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who follows through. When you choose learning over distraction, you strengthen the identity of a lifelong student. When you choose honesty, patience, or courage, you are not merely performing an action. You are teaching yourself who you are. Over time, these repeated choices become habits, and habits become character. Your future is not determined only by external success. It is determined by the kind of person your decisions repeatedly shape you into. The danger lies in believing that there will always be more time. People often postpone important actions because tomorrow feels guaranteed. They delay conversations that need to happen, opportunities that should be pursued, and changes that should begin now. Yet time moves quietly and without negotiation. Days become months, months become years, and eventually people look back wondering where the opportunities went. In many cases, the opportunity did not disappear suddenly. It was simply ignored one small decision at a time. Responsibility can feel heavy when viewed all at once. Thinking about an entire future can be overwhelming, but responsibility becomes manageable when reduced to today's choices. You do not need to solve every problem your future may contain. You only need to make the next decision wisely. Eat the meal that supports your health. Complete the task that moves your work forward. Spend time with the people who matter. Practice the skill that strengthens your future opportunities. These actions may appear ordinary, but they are shaping tomorrow more than grand intentions ever will. There is also freedom in recognizing that the future is built daily. It means you are not trapped by yesterday's mistakes. A poor decision in the past does not permanently define your life. What matters is the direction of your choices now. Every new day offers another opportunity to change the trajectory of your future. One disciplined action may seem small, but it can become the beginning of a completely different path when repeated consistently. People often admire successful individuals and assume they possess special advantages. Sometimes they do, but lasting success is rarely built on advantage alone. It is usually built on years of decisions that were often invisible to others, early mornings when no one was watching, practice sessions that felt repetitive, sacrifices that produced no immediate reward, consistent choices that seemed insignificant at the time but became powerful through repetition. The life you will experience years from now is already being shaped by the choices you make today. Your habits, priorities, and daily actions are quietly constructing your future even when no visible results appear. Every decision is either moving you closer to the person you want to become or reinforcing the patterns that keep you where you are. The future is not waiting to happen someday. It is being built right now through the ordinary choices that often seem too small to matter, yet eventually become the story of your entire life.